Hey everybody, I have a slight cold, so I'm gonna be kind of stuffy, but hello. I just saw a bunch of the different reactions from people from Emily Artful's tweets and everything regarding what Creepshow Art did. I'm going to make a comment that um years ago, I rightly think it's about between 2011 to 2014 or 13, I was actually being stalked by an individual that is called RES3. His first attempt actually, my work actually debunked because I brought the so called letter that he got from my corporate office from my former job. And my boss actually read it and said this was not legal. It was not from our corporate office because they would have gotten a letter too. They didn't. What they got was nothing. In fact, we checked the emails, nothing. They checked my email, nothing. So, also, the fact is, he also pointed out that I was harassing him while I was on the clock. Um, I did not get a smartphone like I have now, that I'm holding, until around 2015. In fact, I have my original smartphone with me, and I can show it to you. It is the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen. This is my original smartphone from 2015. Yeah. So, I did not get, again, in that time period between, I had a little flip phone that I used for taking pictures that were crappy as hell and stuff like that. But the thing is, I never had my cell phone on me while I was at work. My work actually knew that because my cell phone was in my locker. Because I always forgot to turn the ringer off. Yeah. So, um, so they got to listen to my delightful ringtone of Vice Cruise's Velvet Underworld while I was on the clock. So you can imagine that. Yeah. But what RES3 attempted to do was to bully me because I called him out for being a liar over a situation that had been part of our Colorado anime community issue. When I did digging and I did my research, yeah, he was a liar. Well, what I was looking at Emily Artful's tweet and that little excerpt from the letter. If I had seen the whole thing and I pinpointed any spelling mistakes or anything, I'm going to point out they used the word Anthony way too much. Okay, I'm going to just say that right now that they used the name Anthony way too much. One, it should have been he, him, he, or him. Yeah, they should have used that. Secondly, they wouldn't have used his first name. They would have said Mr. Insert his last name. So, yeah, there's so many different things wrong with that little excerpt that I was looking at that kind of gave me red flags. Again, this was back in my day of being kind of, I'm going to have to say, I learned a lot from that incident with RES3. And yes, I am adopting the lessons I learned from RES3 in this situation because I hate to say this, Shannon, you're acting just like RES3, who was a local bully in the state of Colorado. And I'm saying this with a smile on my face because I don't think that's a real lawyer. Emily, you may think it's real, but if you put it in front of somebody like, not myself, but an actual lawyer, they're probably going to tell you, no, this is not a real legal letter. This is not a letter that is legal. Because one, they would not email you. they would actually do the research and get your actual living address. They will actually send a cease and desist letter via mail first, then send the email. Whether you get those first or second, wait until you check your mail. Don't go hopping off and saying no. Don't just wait for the legal letters. Wait for the legalese. Mailing letters are the ones that really happen. And even if I say this to you in all because I've had this aimed at me before, because RAS3 attempted this before, and he also got arrested, because I have that memory and ingrained in my head about what happened, and that was actually when I was out to dinner with my husband, and we get this phone call from the Durango police that said he's been arrested, and I need to make a statement, and I did. But what I'm going to say to you is, one, I am really deeply sorry you're going through this, because one, it's not fun, and two, I've been in in your shoes, and it's I've been in your shoes before, and it's scary. It's frightening to feel like you have to look over your shoulder constantly, because that's what I had to do for 3 or 4 years. You've had it longer, which is really, feel really bad because you had it far worse than I did. But I've been in your shoes, so I know what it feels like to be afraid. I mean, I still have all of everything uploaded onto Reddit about what RAS3 did to me and to an entire community of anime nerds. And he eventually did get arrested. He did get in trouble. But I am going to tell you, please take my advice. Wait a few days to see if an actual legal letter shows up in your mail. If a legal letter does show up, or somebody from, say, a law office does show up at your door holding your letter and you being served with it. Being served means you are being served in person by somebody. It's not going to get mailed to you. It is a physical person. Because that is how it works. And the only reason I've also have experience in this is I had to deal with my sister's unpleasant ex issue. And he was unpleasant because he's still watching a lot of my social media too, but he doesn't interact, so that's kind of a plus, because I don't have to deal with his issues as much. But when dealing with that, he physically did get served papers to a no contact order. In our state, we have something called no contact. It's like a restraining order, except this person can't contact you via email. He can't call you on the phone. He can't do anything. That's basically what a no contact order does. It's like a restraining order, except they can still show up at your workplace if it's someplace like a grocery store. But again, that's just the way my state works. But in the case that I am looking at, and I was analyzing that note, like that little excerpt, pretty much like I was kind of picking it apart slightly from what my perspective had been and what perspective I had to sit through. And I had to learn, one, this is not like the corporate threat letter that RAS3 tried to scare me with. This is more of the, it's fake because, one, the guy couldn't spell corporate. That was the first thing my manager actually showed me, was the spelling for corporate. The guy misspelled it twice in the letter, so you can tell it was fake. Secondly, word usage, sentence structure, which, as someone who writes a novel, my sentence structure sucks, so don't ask me to go on an an in-depth analysis of sentence structure, and the fact that they used his first name instead of his Mr. So and so, that threw me into like, oh, you can't be serious. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to just point that out to you. Um I for one would contact a lawyer and talk to them, have them analyze have them look at your the letters, and then they make the judgment call with you to either proceed or to not proceed. Honestly, back when my sister was going through this with her ex, it was not a actual cut and dry because the child was involved, but that was a total different thing because the guy was also stalking her as well, and I had to deal with that because he actually would contact me on Yahoo Messenger, and I actually sent those screenshots, which were on an older computer, to my parents, and that was through them. They still have those images, and those weren't threatening. Those were just us playing a game of, we were playing like a game of truth or dare or something stupid. We were doing normal conversations, being normal people. But it was, again, unlawful contact in an attempt to persuade or change someone's mind. Mm-hmm. But again, that conversation wasn't taken in context because one, my sister's ex-husband was not trying to be malicious or trying to be anything. It was just not a good contact. Although there are times I'm actually was quite thankful he managed to show up to conventions where he saved my ass. So I don't, and that was way before all the unpleasantness. And believe me, I did not expect him to actually come to my rescue. But what I'm going to point out is people, um you need to actually look at the little snippet that she put up on Twitter, um and go through it with a fine-tooth comb, as I did, where I was looking at it about 3 or 4 different times, taking a rest, then taking a look at it again, because unfortunately, Emily, I did take a look at your Twitter multiple times just to not only analyze it, but also get your reaction and gauge it to see if there is something that might elicit you might understand that it isn't real, that it might be actually faked. Because it's not hard to fake something like that. Believe me, I've met people that actually will do stuff like this, and unfortunately, the only person that I know who would know that if it was legal or not, I don't talk to anymore. And if she was watching my channels or if she knew what was going on, I really, really wish I could get a hold of her. Um, yes, I'm talking about the the PR director or former PR director for a convention I worked that I went to. Didn't work for. Dang it, no. I would actually show my friend that and see what her reaction would be, and it would probably be the same reaction as I've had with the last couple times I've actually analyzed letters that were faked by RAS3 that were meant to scare people. I mean, I could go back to the days of what happened with me and Pocky, which is one of my friends, and I would actually. Pocky was a really good cosplayer I knew back in the day. She doesn't cosplay anymore. And RAS3 had a very unhealthy fixation on her, and that's what caused the whole thing in the first place. So I looked at all of the stuff he did, including the falsified hentai thing. I only bought for her. Me and her had been friends for years, and I only bought stuff for her when I found out she was 17. There was something she really wanted, and I would not buy it for her because I needed permission from her mother. But she actually called her mom and actually had to. And her mom verified that she could have it, and I was like, okay, fine, I could buy it. But her mom actually knew what it was, and it was a yaoi paddle. It was back in the days of the stupid yaoi paddles. So, yeah, she really wanted one, but you had to be 21 or over to get one. It was, yeah. And she paid me back, but what was really stupid about the whole thing is he used that as leverage to state that I gave hentai to minors. It was a stupid paddle with the word yaoi painted on it. Why it was over 21, I don't know. A 15-year-old could buy a stupid paddle and paint yaoi on it. It was that stupid. But again, I have to point out that Creepshow acts just like RES3 in some cases, where she will take something and twist it around to her advantage. Say, Emily had a piece of artwork that she had been working on that was a tad bit risque, and somehow uh, somehow it got twisted around because of who she sold it to or something. That could be used against you. But of course, you could also realize that if you had the receipt about it and the person that bought it backing you up, it always worked. I was lucky that Pocky's husband backed me up. When they got married, she got married at 19. Her husband was 23. I knew her husband before they got married. So I knew that if I could talk to him, I could get backed up. I was backed up by about 20 or so odd people in an entire fandom. You are backed up by hundreds of people in a fandom. So you're probably going to have a safe bet that there are going to be people that will find receipts that you missed or find something you missed. Because that is what I don't think Shannon is counting on, is you finding something that you've missed that could move against her. Because here's the thing, it doesn't matter about your past. It's what you're doing presently that probably will throw her off. I, unfortunately, with RES3, I moved on past his event after some legal issues were brought up by the convention that he got banned from. He got a corporate ban from Anime Land Wasabi. He got a perma ban from an anime convention here in Colorado called Nandasakan. Whether or not that ban has gone through and is still valid remains to be seen. For far as I know, that ban is still intact. In fact, I'm still friends with some con staff at that convention, and they've told me that there is no way RES3 is still able to go after what he brought to their old hotel, which the con was at. So, honestly, it's a similar situation, not so similar. But the way Shannon is acting is exactly the way RES3 was acting toward myself, Pocky, and a bunch of other people that I was friends with. So, we've been in your shoes, we've walked your we are actually aware that you can use this against her. And I hope you are using it against her, because honestly, if this was going on like at a VidCon or something like that, I don't think she should be even allowed in the front door. That is my biggest concern, is if Shannon attempts to contact you. Again, please contact somebody, the police mostly, because you need a zero contact order. You need something that sticks and will stick. Again, I've let this drag on a little too long. But again, this is unscripted, and I don't usually script anything when I go onto YouTube or when I post videos. I want to mention, please, please, please contact a lawyer first, but also have them look at the letter as well, and they can tell you if it's real or not. Okay? So, peace out. Emily, I love your artwork. I will continue watching it all the other T channels, all the other channels covering this. You guys are doing a great job. Hope this helps with my experience dealing with RES3. I hope that does help a little bit because honestly, getting stalked is not fun. Being harassed like this is not fun. And yes, I hope to goodness sakes that something does happen that is on a positive note for this year, because honestly, what Shannon did was horrendous, especially because the community trusted her so much, and we thought she was a good person, and she turned out to be a total, well, she's just like RES3. I thought he was a good person. Turned out he was a total rat. But I do have to thank, again, RES3, also known as RegretfulFlyer. Thank you for teaching me how to read legal documents and make sure that things are real, because honestly, you taught me a bit about it, and I hope your life is way better than it had been back in that those years where we jipped and jabbed at each other, and I hope that that you grew from that experience, because honestly, it was a terrible time for all of us. And I hope that anyone who's gone through what I've gone through, or what Emily has gone through, you're not alone. There are people that can help. There are people that can talk to you. It's a damning thing to have happen. And I sincerely hope I can get back to my regular content of video games, and I am going to be doing a little section later on covering something I've been wanting to cover, which is my photography, which I absolutely love. I can't go out and do any photography right now because guess what? It's snowing. There's snow outside, and my equipment is not actually really good with snow right now, because it's not I don't have the protection or the affordability to make that kind of content yet. But when I do, I will definitely give you guys a heads up, because I am going to move my nature photography and my nature TikTok, which if you look at Nagi Nayoa on TikTok, you will find some of my nature photography stuff and discussion, and my dedication to my poor deceased cat. We love you, Hazel. But again, I do want to say that I want to get back to my regular content, but this was something bugging me, and since I've been sick and I can't go to work right now, might as well.